Hey everybody, welcome to Lore Friday. My name is DM Gallibond, and this time on Lore Friday we're going to continue examining the adventures in Chapter 4 from the Out of the Abyss campaign. This particular video will focus on Cairmgorm Cavern, which is the home of Gracklstugh's stone giant population. As with all of these adventures that happen in Gracklstugh, this one is tuned for a party of Tier 2 adventurers at level 5. The theme of this particular adventure is to visit the district of Gracklstugh populated by the stone giants. The setting is, of course, the Duergar city of Gracklstugh, located in the shore of the Darklake. And the hook for this particular adventure is after saving the Darklake District from a rampaging stone giant who was driven mad by something that happened while he was delving the stones in his home district, the Stonespeaker has asked the adventurers to meet him in Cairmgorm Cavern for an audience. So by the book, this particular adventure kicks off after the maddened stone giant rampages through the foreign quarter or Darklake District of the city. PCs are most likely to be summoned for a friendly audience if they use some dual damage to knock the giant unconscious instead of slaughtering the maddened creature. If the adventure in your game unfolds from the triggering event of stopping the maddened stone giant in the Darklake District, there really are no planned combat encounters in this one at all. Also, the adventure implies that the Stonespeaker, who is a cleric of Scoria's Stonebones, meets the PCs at the edge of this district. Now, in my Thursday night campaign, I changed this to have the Stonespeaker invite the PCs to his home, where he sometimes meets with the Deep King, and thus has furnishings sized for small folk, as the giants call all humanoids. So this gave a few more RP opportunities to those players who enjoy that sort of thing. It also gave me the opportunity to have them do some entertaining skill checks as they walk through the district and try to avoid the other stone giants going about their normal day. So, for instance, a couple of times I had them make acrobatics and athletics checks to avoid being accidentally kicked or stepped on by a giant that was carrying something and wasn't watching the ground in front of him or her. I also gave the Stonespeaker a pet cave bear that was fearsome looking, but answered to the name Fluffy. And this cave bear interrupted the scene with the PCs a few times by whining to be fed. So I thought that was just something that I threw in there sort of off the cuff, and the players really seemed to enjoy it. So it's kind of dull and boring the way it's written. So however you might want to jazz that up a little bit, especially if you have players that like RP and you want to give them some opportunities of going through the district and maybe interacting with some of the other giants, or like I did, having them to avoid the other giants as they go, you can feel free to do that. On the other hand, if the PCs come to this district uninvited, you should allow someone to make some kind of survival or history check to remember that stone giants usually don't care for outsiders poking their noses in uninvited. And that might result in a combat and a very different kind of outcome, depending on how many stone giants get dragged into the fight and how long the party decides to keep the hostilities going before fleeing from the district. If the adventure goes by the book or close to by the book, the Stonespeaker is able to give the PCs some general idea of how to find a path to the surface world. Now, the Stonespeaker calls the surface world the Dreamlands, because he has never been out of the Underdark, and to him, anything that's other than the Underdark would just be sort of a dream. So he's a very metaphorical and very sort of philosophical kind of person. So you can interpret that kind of any way you want to and give him any sort of personality that you think might fit with that. This advice is left intentionally vague so that the DM can tailor the advice to fit with any discussion of future plans the players have already made, since there are several cities in the Underdark that offer way stops for caravans that communicate between the Underdark and the surface of Toril. The Stonespeaker also has a nifty magic item that he can give the PCs as a gift if they peaceably help resolve the issue of the maddened stone giant in the Darklake District. This item has some useful properties all the time, and it also specifically ties in with a later chapter in the campaign, and whether or not the PCs play through that chapter depends on what sort of decisions they make as they go through this campaign and go through their travels here. The Stonespeaker, finally, is also a seer of sorts, and he gets visions by communing with the very stone of the caverns that make up Gracklstugh. He has seen some cryptic visions and doesn't know what they mean. They sound ominous, and they can pose a sort of riddle for the PCs that they might solve gradually as they continue their journey through the campaign once they leave Gracklstugh. There may be, depending on what they've done before they get to Gracklstugh, there may be some clues that the PCs realize, oh, hey, I think I know what that means, and they might be able to give the Stonespeaker a piece of that information. But most of the rest of it are things that the PCs probably have not yet experienced, and they'll sound pretty far out and pretty wacky at the moment, but as they go through the adventure, especially if they're the kind of players that jot these things down, they might say, hey, that reminds me of the stuff that giant said when we were in Gracklstugh. So that can be sort of a cool touch. The most common enemies that you'll find if you do have any combat are, of course, stone giants here. And the toughest potential encounter, there's no designed combat encounters, as I said. However, the PCs try to sneak in here or enter the district to cause mischief, they could face one or more stone giants who are CR7 monsters. And depending on depending on whatever kind of commotion they cause. For a party of level 5 adventurers, even 2 stone giants can spell disaster. And if they start to cause a ruckus and get several more stone giants involved, then it's going to be up to you whether the stone giants attack with the intent to knock the PCs out and just take them outside of their district and lay them at the foot of the guards, or whether they are really mad and they are attacking the PCs with the intent to kill. So that's obviously up to you, your game, and whatever situation that precipitates the combat. Special creatures or items, a Speaker Hgraam is a stone giant that is flavored as a cleric. Now, very interestingly, in the campaign, he's not given any kind of special stat block or any kind of cleric spells. If you're that kind of DM, you might want to think of a template for his cleric level and the spells he might use, just in case the party does something that makes him angry or does something rash within the district and causes some sort of commotion. That the Stonespeaker may come out and use some of his clerical magic either to try to get control of the PCs or try to aid his fellow stone giants or whatever, or that he might use in an attack, depending on what level of cleric you decide you want to make him. My favorite elements of this adventure, I really had to think long and hard about this. And at the end of the day, to be honest, as written, this adventure is really kind of dull and very boring, and there's not a whole lot that I like about it. As a DM, in order to make this adventure playable, I had to add some of my own personal homebrew wrinkles to it, and I couldn't imagine strictly running it by the book in any case. The Stonespeaker Crystal, which is a reward for an earlier deed, is a pretty cool magic item, and my players have put it to good use in the levels since they visited Gracklstugh. So, if there's anything, it's probably that magic item reward, but it's not even a reward for something immediate. It's a reward for something they did earlier in another part of the city. The easiest homebrew adaptation is this can be dropped into any city where you need an enclave of stone giants. I know you have a city like that. I know that there's some place you've been thinking in your homebrew world, wow, What I really need in this city to make it complete is I really need a little enclave of stone giants. Well, here you go. You can take this and you can drop it right in there. Now, of course, you can replace Stonespeaker Hgraam with a leader type that has some helpful information, and the Stonespeaker Crystal with a magic item of some similar power that fits with the theme of your campaign. You can use this with any other edition of D&D because stone giants have been around since the basic edition came out. You can easily replace them with stone giants from any era of the game. Now, next time when we come back, we are going to take a look at Themberchaud's Lair, which may possibly be one of the most interesting and possibly one of the most dangerous adventures in the entire campaign, especially considering the level that the characters encounter each of these adventures. All right, well, that's going to do it. If you have been watching this far, I really would like to ask you to subscribe to the video, like the video, share the video, and click that post notification bell so that you get notified every time new content drops on the channel. I have been DM Gallibond. This has been Lore Friday. We hope we will see you back next time, and please go check out all of the other videos we have here on the YouTube channel. Take care, everyone, and we'll talk to you later. Good night, everybody.